And once you basically have these policies and all that, sir, what is the next step then after that?
Okay. So after the policy is being documented, you have to get approved from the management and manage and communicate to the people. Right. The new 2022 version of the standard also says also take acknowledgement from the people. And so
Received.
earlier the standard
Understood.
was that document, approve, review, update, maintain, communicate. And that's it. Now it also says acknowledge. Fine. So again, depending upon the how the which standard you are following, fine, what the requirements of the standard are, fine, you have to take those steps into the consideration. So if you look at the entire cycle, just let's recap. First, what we do is we identify what our business requirements are. Business requirement in the sense of legal, regulatory, contractual, and my organization requirements. When we identify the requirements, based on the requirements, we set up the scope. It should not be that the customer requires us to be certified and we are excluding that customer. So we have to include that customer or that business unit into the scope. Fine. Requirements, then scope. From the scope, we know what our boundaries are. We do the gap assessment. We see where do we stand today and what are the things need to be addressed. So that is just the giving you the effort. Fine. How much effort, how much time it will take. Fine.
Okay.
But to prioritize that effort, we have to do the risk assessment, and the risk assessment is also the requirement of the standard. And based on the risk assessment and the requirements of my organization, legal, regulatory, contractual, and business, right, I will define my policy. So policy sets the base for everything. Then
Okay.
policy will set the base for what are the expectations from the ISMS team, what are the expectations from the network team, security team, HR team, physical security, and all those teams, right? Because you will define the controls for everything, requirements for everything. Now, for the ISMS team, but so again, for the other teams, we have done the risk assessment as well. We know the controls to be implemented and policy is a way to communicate, and they will have their own processes to be developed. Documenting each process is not mandatory. When ISO does not say that everything has to be documented. When this is again is a misconception that everything has to be documented. As long as things are working effectively, right, and are controlled, when you don't need document for everything. For example, you have a ticketing system. When every single request is logged in ticketing system and is an automated system. When it has a workflow, you cannot deviate from the workflow. You don't have to document that process. It's already working effectively.
True.
But sometimes we have the multiple hands working on the same thing. Fine. And people may go wrong. So to guide them, what's the right path? They got in where you need the documentation. Fine. So that's about the and the minimum documentation what is required is given in the standard itself.
Okay.
Fine. For example, policy has to be documented, objectives has to be documented, risk assessment methodology has to be documented, risk register has to be documented. Fine. Internal audit report has to be maintained. Fine. All those things are given in the standard itself. So coming down to the same, after you set up the policy, which sets the directions for each and every team, one of the team is the ISMS team. You may call it as GRC team, cybersecurity team, information security team, whatever. So that team has to comply with the requirement will be to comply with the standard, to comply with the contractual requirements, to comply with the maybe other regulatory requirements. So they need to identify how they need to write their processes. Right? Ideally, each department should be creating their process manual.
Okay.
Right? Where will define how will carry out certain means how will it meet the requirements of the policy, or how will carry out certain things. For example, if it is an internal audit, how will carry out the internal audit? That ISMS team will write.
Okay.
And if there's no separate internal audit team, so that has to be documented. Fine. So in that documentation, you will cover the entire standard. Fine. So generally we call it as a ISMS handbook, ISMS manual. Fine. So that is a process document basically for the ISMS team, where you capture that how how do you evaluate the performance, right? And how do you conduct the risk assessment? How do you conduct the internal audits, right? how, like, when, what is the frequency, and what are the specifications of conducting the management review meetings? How do you ensure the corrective actions are being tracked? When all those processes are written in that manual, it can be separate documents again, it can be one single document. So
Okay.
when I recommend someone for the implementation 27001, I recommend there should be one single policy document so that everyone refers to one thing. So
Okay.
there is no ambiguity. Fine. There is no, okay, for the laptop I have to follow this policy. I need to refer to this document. For desktop I have another one. For mobile I have another one. For cloud service I have another one. For internet access I have another one. So that is too cumbersome, I will say. So everyone should have one single source of truth. This is something what everyone can simply pick up the document, read their section. That should be easy to navigate. Instead of getting multiple documents, create one document, but which is easy to navigate. It's not people have to struggle with a large document. Okay, where do I find the stuff I want?
And it is difficult to
That-
maintain. Matlab, for
yes,
a sake, you can do that, but at one point in time, you get challenged, to maintain those first stuffs and all that.
yes. And second is, it will be ideal situation if each business function, for example, IT, and in IT there may be different teams for desktop, server, network, security, fine, and applications. So if it is different, make different manuals or process documents. Fine. If it is common in a small organization, create one common manual. Means for each team member, for
Hmm.
each team, you can create one process manual which aligns with the requirements of the policy,
Okay.
which guides how to implement the requirements of the policy. In
Okay.
policy, you have, now look at the linking in between. In policy, you have captured all the requirements my organization has to comply with.
Hmm.
That only sets the requirements. In the process manual, each department is creating. They're aligning with the policy.
True.
Right? So, and the process manual is how to carry out something. So you're giving a proper guidance to an individual that how to comply with your organization requirements, because they will follow the process which complies with the policy. Policy complies with the requirements of the organization.
Okay.
So in a nutshell, each and every team member who is just adhering to their department process manual, they are compliant to all the organizational requirements.
Okay.
Most simplified way implementing any management system is this.
That's great.
And for every individual in the organization, they need to just follow two documents. One is a policy, which is universal truth for everything. Even if it requires an exception, you will look into the policy, or you will apply an exception to the policy.
Hmm.
Fine. And how to carry out their regular team jobs. Fine. They have the process manual. So every individual has to follow two documents. One is what is to be done. Second is how is to be done. What is to be done is a policy. How it is to be done is a process manual.
Process manual. And then you build this entire system, sir. Then what is the next step after that?
Okay. So once you see that your all the requirements of clause 4 to clause 10, Annex A is all completed, is all implemented, right? Then you go for the assessment. I will say that assessment can be again in multiple forms. So one of the mandatory assessment that we have to carry out is the internal audit from the certification point of view. Right? If you want to go for certification, you have to have the gap assessment is not a requirement of certification. Gap assessment is just our effort estimate, how much we need to, how long will it take, right? Because so that we can set our calendars, we can know how much is to be done. Fine, we can commit some timelines to the management. Okay, will require 6 months, will require 4 months, will require 1 year. Fine.
Hmm.
So that gap assessment is just to set the project plan. The standard does not say the gap assessment has to be done. Standard starts with that we have to identify the requirements, define the scope, define the objectives, identify do the risk assessment, fine. Then implement the ISMS, then evaluate the ISMS. So
Okay.
after the implementation has been completed by setting the policies, setting the process manuals, people have already addressed implemented the controls, what we identified as a part of this treatment. Then we need to do the performance evaluation. So there are
Okay.
two aspects of performance evaluation. One is you measure. Fine. Second is you assess. Assessment is easy because you can pick up a checklist. Anyone who has some understanding of kind of some experience of conducting the audits, fine, and knows what the standards requirements are. It doesn't require any specific qualifications. Fine, you can go and do the audit internally also. And again, it's a myth that you need to have 27,001 certification to do the internal audit. It's not required. You need to have the right skills. You need to have the competency. Competence is one of the control in clause 4 to clause 10.
Okay.
Fine. So that competence does not dictate anything. Standard does not dictate that you need to have a CISSP, CISA, or 27,001 lead auditor to conduct the internal audit. Standard only says that you need to identify the competence required to carry out the business operations, and you define what competence your business needs. That has to be logical. And if someone is not having any experience in IT, any experience in cybersecurity, if you make them internal auditor, that doesn't serve the purpose. Then it has to be logical. Fine. So again, to make it logical, some people may define this qualifications as a requirement, certification as a requirement. Fine. Again, to simplify maybe, but depends upon the up to you, up to the organization how they want to define. Doesn't require any specific certification to prove the competence.
Okay. So it's just a marketing gimmick word.
Yes. Say marketing, it's easy to see. Certificates are for what? Why we say that I'm CISSP? Why do I have a degree? It is not to prove my knowledge to myself. It is to present my knowledge to the somebody else.
Exactly.
Fine. So again, that certification helps them prove the competence of the people to the auditor. This is in a simple way.
But sir, my question is basically is that when it comes to the implementation of functions, or when we implementing any kind of activities and all that, whatever is right, we say certification is mandatory, not certification. So what is the recommendation in that? Like how we basically carry the certification process? Like, okay, we're done with the manuals, we get the policies. Now what is next?
Yeah, coming to that. So we have to do the evaluation. And evaluation have two aspects to it. One is measurement, one is assessment. Assessment is an internal audit. One cycle of internal audit is mandatory before you can go for the certification.
Okay.
And the measurement is, again, measurement has to be aligned with your objectives. Your organization has certain objectives why they're implementing information security management system. Those objectives has to be identified. Fine. And that objective can be data security, for example. When I want to maintain the security of data, I want to maintain the security of my systems. Right. So that objective is, let's talk about the security of let's say, server. Now, what are the aspects that I will take care in security of a server? Patch management, anti-malware, and access control. Right. So those things, for example, patch management. There is a monthly patch management process. At the end of the month, you determine how many servers are patched, how many are not patched.
Okay.
Fine. Or you have some vulnerability assessment, vulnerability scanning tool, which tells you, okay, how many vulnerabilities are open, or identified and open. For how long? Fine. So those becomes the data points. So if you have these data points, which is easy to gather and easy to monitor, that can form as a part of your measurement.
Okay.
That month on month you can measure it, or quarterly, or 6 monthly, or annually you can measure it. For example, security awareness. You roll out a security awareness training once in a year, fine, and you evaluate how many people have performed it, how many people have passed the test. Fine, same phishing simulation, you're rolling out phishing simulation, and then you identify how many people are responding to it. Fine. So that becomes your data points.
Okay.
So that data points, if you see, it is easy to gather, aligns with the objectives, right? And does not require a great amount of effort to analyze it. That is a good data point for the performance measurement of the ISMS.
Okay.
Aspects are, first, it has to be, you need not to measure every possible thing.
True.
It has to be aligned with the objective, because every single activity you're doing is a cost to the company. Fine.
Agree.
And the entire ISMS is based on two things. One is the risk assessment, and second is the cost benefit analysis.
Okay.
Is for the security, basically. Entire security management follows these two methods. So if you have to apply a great amount of effort to capture the data and to measure it, fine, you'll spend 1 week every quarter just to gather data from different sources and to analyze it. You're spending 1 week time, and that may not, the outcome of it, that may not be as useful as the money you're investing in it.
True.
What you're investing in it. So that doesn't make sense. So we have to see the cost benefit. It should be first aligned with the objective, second, easy to gather, and easy to analyze. It shouldn't require great amount of effort to just make a measurement happen.
Okay.
That will not be sustainable.
And then what is the final step after that? If you're done with that?
After the performance evaluation, fine. So we are coming to in the performance evaluation, we are coming to in the PDCA cycle, plan, do, check. Fine. After we have checked, we will find certain gaps. We have to act upon it. Fine. So act upon it, we have to identify the root cause of those gaps. And if there's a non-conformity is identified, we have to identify the root cause. If the KPIs are failing, why the KPIs are failing? Either we have set the standards too high that the team cannot meet, or our data points are not correct, or the expectations are, we are expecting too much from them. Right? So that we have to identify the root cause. If something is failing, we have to correct it. If something is being practical, for example, assuming 100% attendance in a security awareness program in a large organization is not practical.
True, agree.
Right? Some people will go on leave, some people will have some different business priorities. If you expect everyone to have if you expect everyone must attend, if you put in the policy, this attendance has to be 100%, KPI has to be 100%, then your KPI will always fail.
Not possible.
Right? So make it practical. How much you can achieve? 95% maybe, or maybe 90%. Right? Depends upon your organization specifics. So when you do the root cause analysis, we determine whether we are setting too high standards which are not practical, right? Or if there is really a problem that we have to fix.
Okay.
If there's a problem we have to fix, the problem so that we can, next time when we do the measurement, we get the right result and we are able to achieve the KPIs. And from the internal audit, if there is an NC non-conformity, then we have to identify the root cause, and we have to fix that so that the next time it does not happen.
Okay.
Right? So these are the methods of continual improvement. Fine. So plan, do, check, and act. Acts make it a continual improvement, basically. Fine. If you plan something, if you don't do, nothing has happened. Actually, you have the discussion methodology, you have the policy, but never rolled out. So that is just a planning. Do means we to go and implement things. Fine. We do the risk assessment, we identify the controls, we implement the controls, we roll out the policy, we communicate the policy, we follow the policy. Fine. So this is plan and do. Then if we never check, we don't know how well our controls are working. Fine. So then is a check. Check is done by the two methods. One is the KPIs we can define. Fine. And second is we can do the internal audit. Now, after we identify the improvement areas from the measurement and audit, then we have to act upon it. We have to identify the root cause and act upon it. So this makes the complete cycle. At the end, you have to present your findings, because initially who sponsored your ISMS project? Management.
True.
Then the final result has to be presented to the management. You have to conduct one round of management review meeting. Fine. Show them how much you are able to achieve. Get a go ahead for the certification audit. Certification again is a cost. Fine. You have to engage a certification body. You have to pay them, engage them. Fine. So they will give a go ahead. Yes, you can go ahead and engage a certification body, and then because you're ready, you have done the planning, you have done the implementation, you have checked whether how well you have implemented, you have also acted upon your gaps. Find the final gaps after the implementation. Fine. And now you're ready for the certification. Engage a certification body. They will have their own process of getting you certified.
Okay.
What this process is, they will first, this certification audit is done in 2 stages, stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 1 is nothing more than a readiness check. Whether the organization is, if your organization is reaching out to a certification body, when certification body is planning for the audit and reserving the resources, when sending their resources, the auditors to the side, and they see, oh, their policy is not approved. They have a policy is not approved. So it doesn't make sense. When the entire exercise will fail. And no one would want to plan for failure. And so this is the purpose of stage 1 audit. So in the stage 1 audit, the certification body will request the mandatory documentation from the organization. They will see whether those documents are well defined, covers the requirement of the standard, when are approved by the management, and they have the assurance that the ISMS is working in the organization.
Okay.
And based on that, they will give you the date for the stage 2 audit. Stage 2 audit will be the on-site. It can be remote in certain cases, like during the COVID, this remote audit had started, but now it is going away. So most of the audits these days are on-site.
Okay.
So then they will give you the dates when they give you the plan, audit plan, when they will come for the stage 2 audit. In the stage 2 audit, they will see the documents you presented during the stage 1, how effectively those controls are implemented.
Okay.
If they see everything is not perfect, everything is as meeting the requirements of the standard, and the things will never be perfect.
Okay.
Right. So, but it should not have the major non-conformities. Right. Non-conformities can be of 2 types, major and minor. Minor means there are some nitty-gritties like you are missing. But major means there's a like the purpose of the implementation is not, objective is not being met. And for example, you do the risk assessment, but the risk assessment is the controls and none of the controls is implemented. And what's the point of doing the risk assessment and risk treatment? And you have the risk treatment plan, but none of the control is implemented. You have the security awareness training rolled out, but nobody has attended.
Makes
Fine.
sense.
That's a major non-conformity. But if let's say they see certain gaps, fine. So those are counted as a minor non-conformity. Minor non-conformity is not a showstopper for certification.
Okay.
But major non-conformity is. So if it is a major non-conformity, they may give you a time to fix those major non-conformities. They will come again for the audit. And if you say yes, if you're able to rectify those issues, they will give the certificate. If not, then you will not get certified. In case of minor non-conformities, they will give you the report and they will give you the certificate, right? But with those non-conformities mentioned in the report, which will be re-evaluated, reassessed in the next year's audit.
Okay. And yes, sir, go ahead.
So when you engage a certification body, they conduct the audit in 2 stages. Stage 1 is a kind of a readiness check. Stage 2 is an on-site audit, which evaluates how effective your ISMS is. Right? After the successful completion of stage 1 and stage 2, the auditors will recommend to their certification body that this organization is ready for it can be recommended for the certification. Then the certification body will have their own quality control, and they'll have their quality. They also have like the audit reports are evaluated from the auditors, and then there's a audit manager who will make a decision of whether to grant a certificate or not.
Okay.
So once the certificate is granted, once they see everything is in place, everything, then you're good to go. They will grant you a certificate. You will get a certificate.
Okay.
Once you get a certificate is for 3 years. First year is your audit was conducted and you get certified. In the next year, when for example you do it in the month of March, in the next February or March, they will come again for the surveillance audit. Fine. They will see whether the NCs they have raised, the minor NC they have raised is addressed or not.
Okay.
Fine. And they will also pick up certain areas. They will evaluate how effectively you are able to maintain the ISMS.
Right.
Fine. And then in the next year, again, they will come for the same thing. It will be a surveillance audit. And after 3 year cycle, at the end of 3 year, they will have the thorough audit again to recertify you for the next 3 years.
Okay.
This
So
is the process.
we have a process of doing things after validation. So this is how the practical things works. And so when it comes to the vendor selections and all that, how critical is that, when you're selecting a vendor and all that?
Selection in terms of certification body or like your other vendors.
Yeah, when we're selecting a vendor for a certification body, what is the parameter we need to consider?
Okay, so certification, see, you need to go with the, I will say, what is the objective of it? And for example, if I have, like, there are many universities, and some of them are top-notch universities, some of them are very like small-scale universities. And depending upon what kind of reputation you want to carry, you'll
Okay.
go for IIM, or you'll go for some like small college. Fine. So that, and again, the effort, the cost is all associated with it. And so if you go with some top-notch certification bodies, and so they have their highest standards, when it costs higher, but their certificates are very well accepted in the market.
Understood.
When you present a certificate of a top certification body, everyone acknowledge that you have the real implementation and the effective implementation very well tested, and you have like your organization is effectively implementing the ISMS. But if you get a certification from a body which is not very known, people will still have a doubt. Okay, I don't know from where you got this, kind of.
That is also happen, for the just sake of cost and all that, they ignore that pattern. Yeah, I do understand. And sir, like, so this is the entire road flow, road process, like roadmap we have for this ISO implementation we have, right? So any suggestions before we wind up, any important tips you want to give to the people? Because sometimes what happens, some other mandatory clause, but according to business, they don't want to implement. So how to justify in that case to the business?
Okay, so if the something is mandatory by the standard, and if you don't implement, you will not get certified. That is very clear.
Okay.
Fine. But yes, there are controls which you can exclude. Fine. Clause 4 to clause 10, each and every statement is important. You cannot exclude anything except the notes.
Okay.
Fine. And from the Annex A, there are 93 controls. Some of them may not apply to you. Fine. Some of them you can, so those which doesn't apply to you, you can exclude. For example, if you don't have any software development process in the scope of ISMS, you can exclude those controls. But if you talk about the people management, onboarding, offboarding, physical security, entry-exit controls, those things you cannot exclude.
Understood.
Fine. It has to be there. Access control has to be there. Asset management has to be there.
Okay.
Fine. So it depends. Like not everything can be cloud services. Cloud services can be excluded because if you don't use any cloud service, you can exclude it. Fine. But you cannot exclude kind of a backup controls, anti-malware, because if you don't have any systems connected to internet, no ports are available, no USB ports are available, then probably you can say, oh, I have no interface. And all the interface is blocked. And I don't have any opportunity of any external communication. So virus will not come to my machine. But that doesn't happen. That's not possible. You will have a connection to the internet. You will have the USB ports open. May not be in all machines, but maybe on few machines you will have it open. Fine. So those things we cannot exclude.
That's great, sir. Because this is also the interview question, which is basically asked in a lot of jobs also,
But inclusion and exclusion has to be justified. Fine. So inclusion can be easily justified if you just map your Annex A controls with your risk assessment. When you get a risk register, you have the risk and you map that risk with the Annex A control. For example, you see malware as a risk. Fine. You have the anti-malware as a control. Fine. But put it with the, add one column to it and map it to the Annex A control.
Okay.
Fine. So it is readily justified. Fine. You don't have to have any other thing. You don't have to write a theory. Okay, I am including this control for so and so reason. It will have to be this register. For the exclusion, you simply specify, okay, this activity is not being carried out in this scope. Simple.
Okay. Because the reason I ask you is because this is the normal question also asked to the candidates when they go for interview jobs and all that, how you convey the security, non-security people, and how you convey this and all. So that is the reason I basically ask you this, how you basically see this perspective, how to convey the security, how to convey the control, if the clause is not mandatory, how to convey, how, why, if the clause is mandatory, how you convey, because it involves the cost and all that. That is the reason I basically asked that, okay, how to answer such questions. But that
Okay.
was a really
So
great one, yeah.
one simplified uh, way to deal with this is ISO 27001 of the ISO standards
Hmm.
uh, can be implemented by an organization of one person,
True.
a small startup, fine, a large corporate, and a multinational spread across the globe as well. The
Agree.
same standard can be implemented, and those organizations can get certified as well. Even an organization of one person company can also be certified.
Okay.
Right. So what is required is the organization that the standard says that the documentation has to be, there are some specific documents they have defined that this has to be there.
Hmm.
And apart from that, they have said the documentation is up to the organization,
Okay.
depending on the size of the organization, complexity of the organization. Fine. If it is a large organization, I was giving an example like if you have in the scope you have the one office in Bangalore, one office in Ireland, one office in China.
Hmm.
And now look at the HR processes. HR
Hmm.
processes, the three different countries may not be aligned.
Agree.
In Europe, you cannot do the background check. When in India, you will not get outsourcing business without background check of the employee.
True. So law
Fine.
of the land
So
matter.
now different requirements are coming out.
Hmm.
Fine. So those controls can be customized. Fine. It doesn't require to have the one common standard for the entire organization.
Understood.
Fine. So means and ISO says that this has, and ISO also respects the law.
Law
If
of the
it
land,
is
yeah.
a legal requirement of not being carrying out something, ISO will never ask for, director will never ask for this.
That's a good point, yeah.
Fine.
Because this is
So
missing.
coming out to the same thing, this standard is very generic.
Hmm.
All industries, all size of organizations can implement this. There's certain set of documents which is given in the standard itself that has to be there, except that it's up to the organization
How they implement.
whether they, how much they document. Now the documentation depends upon the size and complexity. When you have differences of the implementation, it is better to document. And when you have a large group of people handling the same process, it is better to document, right? So that you have the consistent implementation of it. But if the consistent implementation is driven by a software,
Hmm.
like your ticketing system, fine, you don't have to document it.
Understood. But because, sir, the reason I basically asked this question is, this was the frequent thing which is asked in ISO implementations and all that, how you convey. And thanks for taking the time for this particular question also. So, sir, um,
It is fairly simple than people think. It is fairly simple. Just the first step is the like pick up the standard, read the requirements. Fine. Requirements are, I think requirements will not be more than 7-8 pages. Fine. Clause
okay,
4 to clause 10. Annex
okay,
A is not a part of the standard. Fine. Annex A is just a catalog of controls.
uh,
Fine. So when it comes to the ISO 27001 requirements, the requirements are clause 4 to clause 10 only.
okay.
And which is very, very simple, very, very easy to comply with.
And sir, like, after watching this video, some people, if they want to reach out to you for any kind of a requirement, can I share your LinkedIn profile in the YouTube description
Yes,
box?
yes, 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 sure.
And sir, like, I always request my speaker who is a part of my sessions and all that, will you be interested to have one more session on the new topic which talk about how to build security
You can
governance?
pick up any topic, even like because I have covered the 27001 at a very high level.
Yeah,
I haven't demonstrated any templates.
yeah,
I haven't gone into detail of any particular internal audit, performance evaluation, objectives, risk management. I have not gone in any detail.
uh,
If you can pick up any topic from the standard, I'm good to go. If you want to pick up any topic from any other, again, GRC domain topic, I'm good with.
That's great, sir. And
I'm not
team,
technical. I have not logged into any server like after maybe 2009.
but Mr. Rahul has basically spent great time on firewalls. He started his journey from Microsoft and all that, so he know the
Yeah,
basics. So he started from basics. So we
I
say now we used
started
to,
with that. I started with Windows 95.
yeah, that's why. So we cannot simply say anything to him. Okay, this is how DHCP work. Acha beta. So we have to think twice before speaking to him and before sharing any kind of a statement. But thank you, sir, for taking out the time for this particular session, and I'm sure it will be great insight for the people who are watching this video. And team,
Thank
if
you.
you,
I'm quite happy like this conversation and this guidance can build the career. Your audience can get a job after this. I will be much, much, much happier.
that's great. So that's the agenda of this particular. Normally, what I used to record the sessions with the people and all. That is how the agenda is. Make sure people get the great insight from this, sir. But
And
thank you,
if
sir.
any of your audience, if the viewers want to reach out to me, you will be sharing my LinkedIn profile, and
Yeah.
all the queries are always welcome. I may not respond immediately, but yes, you will get a response.
Thank you.
That's my promise.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And do let me know, team, like what is the next topic for which I can disturb Rahul, sir. And see, normally what happened, we used to say on gunpoint. So this for us, the gunpoint is his online session. So in the online session, he cannot deny for his action. So non-reputation we are establishing here. So do let me know in the comment box what is the next video you want me to make with Rahul, sir. And we're looking for the feedback in a comment box. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss the future videos with a similar topic. Thank you so much. Good day. Bye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.